hey, this guy reached out. Hoser is going to be in Los Angeles soon. Apparently, he's a lemonade stand listener. Actually sounds kind of interesting because it's about Tim Cook being the world's most important diplomat.
Tim Cook's 15 years as Apple CEO saw its profit and revenue triple. The release of the Apple Watch, AirPods, Apple Silicon, services like Apple.
He kind of goated, and he's a gay rights icon. It's Pride Month, which means you have to love gay billionaires instead of regular billionaires. Okay, everyone has to give Tim Cook his props. We wear the rainbow flags for our gay billionaires. That means David Geffen. That means Tim Cook. That means Scott Bessent. That means Sam Altman. I can actually name a lot of gay billionaires.
Its market capitalization increased from $297 billion to over $4 trillion, which means that Apple increased its market value by...
Okay, this is totally unrelated, but I've noticed this, and I want to know if you fellow YouTube addicts have noticed this. You know how there's a lot of channels that have been faceless for a long time? I feel like all of them are starting to put their face in the video to stand out from the AI slop. I'm noticing it so, like, Hoser is not normally in his video, but they realized that if they don't have a personality or a face to it, then you can't be differentiated. People can just yoink your video, feed it into fucking Gemini, recreate a script, do something. And the amount of AI slop on YouTube has gotten absolutely horrendous. And so you're starting to see it. It's crazy. So I'm ahead of the game, bro. I'm ahead of the fucking game. I've been doing personality-based, clip-based content to get ahead of this fucking AI slop wave.
The one thing he faltered on was AI and the Apple Car and those weird goggles.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, he was one of the most successful CEOs.
I just want to say real quick, it's like the AI thing is still a big question mark. Tim Cook could end up being seen as the smartest CEO in recent tech history, like decades, if AI ends up being a bit of a financial bubble in the short term, at least. If there's a huge downgrade, he can pick up a bunch of shit for pennies in the dollar. Listen, every other tech company is burning hundreds of billions of dollars on AI, all with no profits yet, no return. And so he can either be super wrong and super late to the party or a genius. And it really comes down to how it happens. I mean, it's the big question mark. That is a good point from chat, is that he's stepping down. There's a new CEO coming in, and the new CEO might immediately make the mistake. It's like the new CEO might go, oh shit, I'm late to AI, and then just dump all of Apple's free cash flow into fucking AI. It's possible.
Equally important part of his legacy: Tim Cook's diplomacy, with his geopolitical maneuvering reminding me more of like a Standard Oil company in the 1900s or a Dutch East India Company in the 1700s, just without the subjugation. My premise is that there are two Tim Cooks. One is Tim Cook, the manager, the CEO, the guy you see at Apple's presentations.
Okay.
And the other is Tim Apple.
We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
The smooth talker,
This is embarrassing to admit. I never knew that Trump actually said that. I thought he just typed it in a tweet. I never knew he actually called him Tim Apple to his face. I thought he just truth socialed it. That's hilarious. It's like how you'd put his name in your phone to remember him.
the diplomat you see behind closed doors. And I think this is a fitting name for Tim Apple because his diplomatic strategy was often just to cave into strongmen's demands. His two favorite strongmen are Xi Jinping and Donald Trump, and during their times in charge of China and the US, they have been trying to assert their dominance over one another. A little recap of Apple in China. Back in 1997, Steve Jobs had revealed that the company was 90 days away from bankruptcy. So, to cut down on costs and clean up their supply chain, they brought in an operations guy who'd worked at Compaq and IBM. Tim and Terry led the push into Chinese factories. They started by moving iMac and iPod production to contract assemblers across the Asian mainland. Then, when the iPhone 4 released...
I mean, just to be clear, this was a really, from an American POV, incredibly short-sighted move. Obviously, it was very profitable for Apple, but Apple specifically made Shenzhen into like one of the tech centers of the world, because moving all the iPhone production there meant that like battery companies started springing up nearby, and then like glass companies, and then like all the manufacturing for all the different parts, chips, batteries, wires, drones, all that stuff ended up in Shenzhen. And then because they're all near each other, the ideas started to percolate, and the manufacturing experience started to percolate, and they started to get really fucking good at all that stuff. And then you get startups like DJI, drone company, and then battery companies, CATL, battery companies, and then all these companies start popping up and they become world-class. And then you get EV companies that are world-class. And then all this stuff start popping up because the manufacturing moved there first. And when you get rid of that base level, then that's where the learning comes from to get the top level.
At its peak, half of the world's iPhones were at least partially assembled in Zhengzhou. And now, Apple is so dependent on China that roughly 90% of iPhone production and assembly happens here.
They've tried. Tim Cook is no supply chain dummy, bro. They've tried in the past few years to move some of the production out of China now. They're like, oh, we're too dependent on China. There's a lot of geopolitical tension, but they can't anymore. It's like very hard. They moved some to India, some to Southeast Asia, but it's hard because all the highest level processes and expertise are now here. They've all moved here, and they were so efficient at it that everyone else has shut it down. There is Vietnam, there is India, but again, it's a small percent.
At the 18th Party Congress in 2012, a rising star was chosen to become the next General Secretary of the CCP. He consolidated power around himself and his thoughts. Xi Jinping thoughts.
Yeah, we saw those.
Fast.
We were at a university in China and they had tables of those at the cafe. Just tables of the Xi Jinping thought book. Did I read it? Bitch, I basically ghost wrote it. That's right. Xi Jinping asked me for my thoughts on a lot of things. I told him, and then I look around, he's written this book, Xi Jinping Thought, and it's a lot of my fucking ideas.
Fast forward 2 party congresses, and at the 20th in 2022, they declared that technology was to be a national project. Uh-oh. Apple's a private company. Uh-oh. Tim, do something. The first moment that set the scene happened just as Xi took over. In 2013, Tim Apple personally apologized for Apple's warranty policy in China. Earlier in the year, a state-run TV program had condemned Apple in the country over a shorter warranty period being offered in China than in other places. It took Apple literally 2 weeks to set this tone with the new Chinese president. To be fair, they publicly disagreed with the Chinese, but as Tim said, we follow the law wherever we do business. That can manifest as quite large business decisions. Maybe the most revealing thing of all is that Tim Cook, who has literally made a career specializing in globalized supply chains,
I believe in what Tom Watson said, is world peace through world trade,
has never once visited Taiwan while he's been Apple's CEO. China considers the island to be a rebellious province.
Well, I did not know Tim Cook never visited Taiwan. That's wild, given how much they actually use TSMC. He's a real diplomat, bro. He's really about that bag. Maybe he wears a fake mustache and he sails in by boat. Maybe Tim Cook actually has a second family in Taiwan. He goes into Taiwan as Tom Orange.
Tim Apple isn't just the company's top diplomat abroad. Apple consistently underspends other big tech companies on lobbying Washington. The company has found that, shocker, it works better to talk to these politicians face to face rather than talking money to face.
Wow.
In this way, Tim has become Apple's most important lobbyist. Tim Apple made a big gamble in 2017 when he started a relationship with Trump at a time when no other tech executive wanted to be seen near him. During the eventual trade war the president launched on China, Tim had managed to get Apple products, a leader in outsourcing to China.
That was insane, dude. It was like, there's a tariff on every electronic except Apple's. They're okay. It was such a fucking weird carve out.
Exempt from any tariffs. How? In his corporate memoir of Tim Cook, Trump wrote that Tim called when he had a problem only the president could fix, his face-to-face strategy rather than using million-dollar consultants, and of course, that he was impressed he could get—
It made you hate Tim Cook more than you already did? I mean, I don't disrespect anyone who wants to hate a fucking crazy tech billionaire, but that story would make me hate Trump more than Like Tim Cook, of course, is going to try and get Apple products exempt from a fucking stupid tariff. Of course he wants that. It drives up the cost of every iPhone. But the fact that Trump would be willing to pick and choose winners like that and make an incredible, dumb, two-tiered system is like horrendous for the American economy. It's just dumb. That's the corrupt backwards part. Not that Tim Cook is trying to like not be a part of this tariff. Every company is being part of the tariff.
Apple was one of the largest corporate sponsors of the Made in China 2025 program to become the largest producer of those NPEFs. And in Apple's most famous China gamble of all, they pledged to invest $275 billion over 5 years into the country. $275 billion! For reference, the CHIPS and Science Act to revitalize America's cutting-edge factories only pledged $53 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's crazy because this is a lot of money, but it's a rounding error what they're spending, what everyone else is spending on AI now, which is like trillion plus. But it is wild how small the CHIPS Act was by comparison.
Now, to be fair, it is suspected that she might have, extorted this a bit out of Apple. This was made after China had made vague threats to Apple services, and the actual meeting was done in secret in Zhongnanhai. Apple signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Development and Reform Commission to pledge its support for 12 causes promoted by China, using more Chinese-made components, making these islands bigger on Apple Maps. You know, typical business stuff. In exchange, Apple hasn't been totally cut off from the Chinese supply chain and consumer market. So I guess you have to spend some money to make some money.
You gotta spend money to make money.
Just 1 month after Trump returned to office, they pledged to spend almost twice the amount they used to calm the Chinese government. Over the next 4 years,
this is the problem. Like, even a great diplomat like Tim Cook, you can't play both sides forever. They're just gonna keep demanding more, bro. It's gonna be a problem. Like the China-America tension is only ratcheting. It's like it has peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys, but the direction of travel is one way. And eventually it's going to be tough to easily working in both fields.
India has been Apple's white whale for decades. With its massive population, it's the obvious next consumer market and production site for the company, especially after how great China was for Apple. But India had for years required foreign firms to source at least 30% of supplies domestically, with a handful of billionaire families controlling much of India's developmental industries. Getting to that 30% minimum required beautiful political maneuvering that Apple didn't have. That is, until their relationship thawed in 2016 with India's own strongman, Narendra Modi. Now, various programs have been pledged by the country to focus on app development, as well as hard manufacturing. They waited an eternity, and finally, in 2023, the first Apple Store was opened.
It's crazy is that Tim Cook is like such a interesting character to me because he's truly dedicated his life to increasing shareholder value for Apple. He's not even like a majority owner. There's many, many CEOs with smaller companies that get paid way better than him. I think he passed $1 billion, so I'm not going to overstate it, but he's not like Elon where he owns a huge chunk of the company. He owns a pretty small % of Apple. He just really, he literally spent his entire life traveling around the world, meeting with world leaders, doing everything possible, thinking for the future to make sure that Apple makes a fuck ton of money. It's just, wow, he truly believes in it. He's a lover of the game, bro. He's the ultimate company man.
Here's a nice and succinct Trump quote about it.
Ken, you're my friend. I treated you very good, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India.
Tim also gave Trump this small little...
So fucking dumb from Trump. Because he can't build it in America, but building in India actually reduces China's leverage. It would be good. Apple building a counterweight to China and India would be very good for America's interests. But Trump is too fucking dumb to see that. And so instead of like bringing it back to America, he's actually forcing it to be in China.
The next Apple CEO, John Ternus, has been instrumental in creating some of the products that have defined Apple's last
The pencil.
Decade. He's an engineer's engineer, which is to say, people are a little bit iffy about his diplomatic ability. Will John be able to maintain good relations?
Dude, what if he like corners world leaders at parties and talks about Dungeon Crawler Carl. Fuck, dude, he's gonna ruin it. Plus, he's straight.
We don't have to answer this because Tim is staying with Apple.
Okay.
The company is framing this move as stepping up to the role of executive chairman of Apple's board, a role that basically only includes engaging with policymakers from around the world.
Damn.
Essentially, Tim Apple.
How old is Tim Cook? He's 65. Imagine being 65. You made $2 billion plus. You've been working at Apple your whole life. And instead of stepping down to enjoy that, you just keep on traveling around the world to convince world leaders to not put tariffs in factories for Apple. Damn, bro. He truly fucking loves the grind. That was a great video. Shout outs to Hoser. Very interesting look at the Tim Cook, Tim Apple dichotomy.